Go ahead, Kaja.
With this principle, how do you think this applies to things like business or industry mentorships, where you're going to someone because they're in the industry and they have close proximity, but they're at a point beyond where you are? Do you consider that them still being too close to the subject matter to be able to give proper mentorship?
I don't believe in single mentorship at all. I think if you have a diversity of mentorship, you're okay, right? But if you have like this, I don't believe in mentor worshiping. So I believe in diversifying mentorship because a lot of times mentors are too close. Like I've seen mentors talk to people. When this whole thing was happening, when people were giving people money, right? It was, the preachers was talking to the choir. From the outside, I'm going, you send these businesses up to die, give them 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, and they haven't, which I'm getting to in about 2 or 3 weeks, they haven't created the right momentum to earn those resources. So instead of you enhancing their momentum, you're enhancing their expectations. So now they're gonna move with this space of entitlement as opposed to moving in a space of acceleration, right? And so, but the people that were surrounding them, there's a lot of intelligent people surrounding these new businesses, but they were too close. Mm-hmm. They're too close, right? They're too close to the idea. They weren't too close to the black community because they saw the black community or they weren't very close to being entrepreneurs. And even as an entrepreneur, if I had to go into a corporate office and speak, I would look for advisory of people within the corporate office, how to speak to them, because I'm too close to being an entrepreneur to have the empathy. Because remember, the key word is empathy. I wouldn't have corporate empathy. I would say some shit and be like, and I don't want to ever sound like Damon Dash. Never. Okay, go ahead. I'm a boss. You're not a boss. I'm a boss. That's what you say. I'm a boss. Anyway, go ahead.
There is an objective reality, but none of us can perceive it in totality without doing a little work.
Without doing a little bit of work, objective reality cannot be seen. You have to work to see. Mm-hmm. Seeing is not something that you just, because you have eyes and ears, you hear, and because you can think. If you're not working to see, you don't see. Let me say this real quick. If you're not working to see, you don't see. Mm-hmm. See is an expense you got to pay. Mm-hmm. It's a cost to see. See ain't free. You don't wake up in the morning like, I can see what's going on. No, the fuck you can't. It's not possible. So if you at home trying to tinker and run a business, you don't see shit. That's why you spend a lot of time doing dumb shit. You got to take time out of your life and practice seeing, so then you can align your time with your efforts to make some traction. Go ahead.
Is it any wonder we make suboptimal decisions?
There you go. Next slide. Here we go. I love this shit. I just not going to turn it up a little bit. Let's go.
The subjectivity of perspective.
Uh-huh.
You know that you are always going to have an imperfect perspective.
Always.
You will never be able to see everything at once.
Never.
Nor will you be able to completely trust that everything you do see is viewed by others.
So let me slow down real quick. So when you do see things, you ever talk to somebody about their business and they tell you about these beautiful things they've done with their business and no one gives a fuck? Or maybe you telling me and I'm like, my eyes are wondering like, when are you gonna stop talking so I can leave? It's because you think what you see, some things you see, you don't realize it's irrelevant to what the customer's gonna see. It's like, let's go back to just a gym analogy. If Shakina brought new actual weights, but her windows were dirty and her bathroom didn't work, no one sees the fucking weights. It's just irrelevant.
Right.
So for her, the value of what she's doing, I remember a long time ago, we had a makeup artist who used to work for me. And she got cussed out by me. Oh no, a photographer did too, got cussed out for the same reason. He opened up his case and it looked like Mad Max, how just little mini Mad Max was in his case kicking Lenz's ass. And everything was just everywhere, right? I said, what the fuck is this? So what do you mean? Customer, you open that shit up, you've already tracked the customer's trust. The makeup artist, what the fuck is this? If this woman's sanitary, she's scared as fuck right now. She's trembling while you're doing her makeup. Right? Because then she don't know what the fuck, how many times you do fucking brushes on what. Every fucking thing matters. But you gotta learn to think, how does a customer, when I walk in this room, what are the customers gonna see first? How does their eyes wander? What are they consciously and subconsciously picking up that I need to manage to impact my relationship to my customers? Keep going.
Can I ask you a question about
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
Okay, so there are when a business first starts. So I'll give you a concrete example. I am a skincare company, and I put stuff out there. I get sales online a little bit. Like I'm making some traction, and then the first thing that I think I need to do to be competitive is redo all of my packaging. I'm very early, but I'm going to redo all of my packaging, and I haven't really learned how to sell. I'm totally leading this question, but I'm wondering what your perspective would be on a company that kind of put an idea out there to see if anybody bites. When do they start making those investments in the way that the product looks?
Okay, so number one, you start from day one. I don't give a fuck if you just putting some papers, wrapping it around there and doing it. Just show care.
Exactly.
Right? Showing care is once a customer can see you care, they can tolerate poor design. Poor designs can be artistically attractive to them, right? It's when you move from a space of efficiency, urgency, working, got to put my head down, got to get the job done, and you don't really care about the wrapping like that, right? Customer can tell the difference, right? It's like, you ever been to a clothing store and you touched a shirt, you don't like it, but you can tell it's a good quality company store because you tell there's some care in this material, and you may even buy the shit and wear this ugly ass sweater because the quality is really fucking amazing, right? Care fucking matters. Or have you ever been offended that you went to a department store and grabbed a shirt and you knew this is cheaper than the shit they sell out of a truck, and they want to charge you $4 for it and you're offended, right? You got to communicate care. Number two, what I challenge people to do is let's slow down a little bit from idea to product. Let's get into observation space. Let's get into knowing that you have a perspective limitation and that you got to challenge that by either internship or being around the space or interviewing different people from different things. Like, you have to learn what the fuck you want to do. Just because you want to do it and you're talented don't mean you're good at what you do. But what happens is, this is what the perspective challenge is trying to highlight to us, is that your intelligence is not on trial. Your talent is not on trial. Your perspective is on trial. That's huge. So once you realize your perspective is on trial, you'll realize, oh shit, I gotta stop being in this room thinking I can see what the next move is for my company, and I gotta move in a space of curiosity trying to figure out what the fuck that is. Like, for example, one of my biggest challenges now, I've been around for 18 years as a business, I gotta get used to all the new trends because my trend is almost dead. I can't afford to be Nana 510 Media. That's how we were the first 10 to 15 years. Now I got to be 510 Media to this next generation. And if it comes down to it, going back to what Corey said, if it came down to that, the word media was being exhausted because of this new generation, I might have to be 510M or just 510 or 10 Media. I don't know what the fuck I got, but I got to constantly, I have to adapt to survive. But what stops your adaptation is when you're limited by your perspective. You see I'm going with this? All right, let's roll.
What you see is useful but limited. The less willing you are to accept and acknowledge limitations, the less useful your perspective.
So there you go, freeze. The less you're willing to accept your limitations, the less useful your perspective. Let me say this again. All right, I'm gonna say it black way. The less you are willing to accept you can't see shit, know shit, and understand shit, then your shit is whack as fuck. You trash. Okay, so I'll go back to my professional side. So if your perspective is off, right, then you don't realize that all your education and intelligence and past performances are undermined. Talent with poor perspective is trash. It's that fucking simple.